Hello friends, Martella here for Mark's Money Matters, where I help you break your addiction to using credit and bring some sanity to your finances. So today what I'd like to share with you first, again, happy Villanova won, kind of why I did the show a little bit later to watch the first round of the NCAA tournament. So big win for us and start of hopefully something good. Again, 1 versus 16 isn't that great. If you're rooting for someone, let me know who you're rooting for. Let's see what we got going on. Obviously, I picked Villanova to go all the way, but we'll see what happens. Hi, Mike. How are you? What I want to share with you is I started to write a white paper, and what inspired this was the fact that I see so many people, when I meet with somebody to file bankruptcy and we go through it, one of the things they tell me is that they never want to go through this process again. But yet, it seemed to me I had a lot of people coming back to me for their second and third bankruptcies. And first I thought, is this just me? So what I did is looked up some statistics, and the one neat thing about bankruptcy is the one thing that bankruptcy and baseball has in common is that there's a lot of statistics kept. So I was able to find statistics since 2007, which indicated that there's multiple bankruptcy filings, and the statistics only show the statistics for Chapter 13 filings, so it's not even including Chapter 7 filings, which are a much greater number. But for the last 2 years, for 2016 and 2017, 38% of people had previously filed a bankruptcy. Now, the most amazing thing is that with the changes to the law in 2005, one of the things that people have to do is they have to take 2 credit counseling courses. They have to take one before they file and then one after they file. Problem is these credit counseling courses are only about an hour, and there's no follow-up or anything. And it's funny, it runs the gamut. I have some people telling me that the courses are very helpful, while others tell me that it was a waste of their time. So I decided I want to delve into this more. Why, when people are so adamant that they're never ever going to file bankruptcy again, do they fall into it? So one of the things that I came across is that there's certain psychological things, and I came across a whole field of study that I was not aware of called behavioral economics. And doing my research, I came across a number of different items or theories that are out there, and I'd like to share them with you and see if you've ever been a victim of your mind, forcing you to make bad decisions. I know when I saw them, I certainly recognized them in my past and things that I did. So let's talk about them. Well, the first one is called sunk cost fallacy. And that's the idea that, hey, I've invested this money in something, and in order to get it back, I have to keep doing it. So a perfect example is that old car that you've put more and more money into. Maybe it's fix a transmission, then a new radiator, new alternator. Then something comes up again, and you're faced with a decision. Well, I put in $1,500 this year. I might as well put in another $300 when it would probably make more sense to just get another used car that's newer, less mileage, and will not have the maintenance costs. Another example will be, and this all happens, we bought some clothes, we bought a shirt, we bought a suit, that there is no way we're ever going to get into it. But what do? Well, we keep it in the closet in the hope that someday we're going to use it, because we spent all that money on it. Why would we get rid of it? Another example, and really example that's kind of exploded in the last 10 years, is storage facilities. And think about it. How much are the assets that you have in there? If you have some old furniture you're storing there, some old pictures, an old washer and dryer, an old kitchen set, maybe that futon from college, and you have no place to store it in your house, so you're paying $100 a month, let's say, to store it for stuff that's probably only worth maybe $1,000. Well, after 1 year, you spent $1,200 to save $1,000 worth of stuff, and as you get multiple years going on, you're wasting more and more money. So that's one of the issues that we face, is that we make decisions because of what we've invested in something already. Maybe shoes you have that are too tight and you keep wearing them because you spent so much money on them. Maybe it was, I read this one example of you buy a membership at a tennis club, and after a month you start suffering from tennis elbow, but you invested $1,000 in this year membership and you keep going to play because you don't want to blow the money, even though your elbow hurts and you're making it worse each time. Whereas if you think about it, if a friend called you up to go play tennis and your elbow was hurting, you'd have no problem saying no. So again, it's that thing that pulls us in, and really, you think about it on the broader picture. A lot of people will say this sunk cost fallacy was what kept us in Vietnam. We had put in so many millions of dollars, lost so many soldiers' lives, that it made it harder to pull out, and we wanted to keep going to have that word victory put at the end of it. So it is a very costly concept that we have in our mind, which from an economic standpoint simply doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to pay $1,200 a year to a storage facility to save $1,000 worth of stuff that we can replace for that. So that's one of the mind games that our brain plays with us that cause us to make poor financial decisions. Second one is the gambler's fallacy. And the gambler's fallacy, that's, for example, let's take a roulette wheel. If you're familiar with the roulette wheel, it's got black and red on it. And you can bet just black or red. And don't forget about the 0 and 00 that change the odds. But just for this example, let's assume it's just black and red. And let's assume red comes out 5 times in a row. Well, your mind's going to tell you that black is more likely to come up. Well, the reality is the odds are the same on every single spin of the wheel. 50-50. But our mind again plays that game, and now you're going to throw that more money on black, and you lose again, and so now it's got to come up. And you go down that vicious cycle. So that's the gambler's fallacy. And then really the third one, and the one that is really why people get into trouble and get into big debt, is the money illusion. And what the money illusion is basically people don't have a good concept of how to picture money. You pull out that $100 bill, you don't picture $100 worth of groceries that you can buy with it. And the industry that's the best at this is the casino industry. When you go to a casino and you're just using chips, those chips don't feel like money. And all the chips are the same size. They change a little bit for color, but when you put down that $100 chip, the brain doesn't make that connection as to its real value. Now we take those, go from that chip to credit cards, debit cards. Again, it's not really money. We're just swiping that through. We make that disconnect. And in the worst case scenario that's been created is something like Amazon OneClick, where you put in your credit cards and you see something that you want, you just click and it's at your house almost the next day, if not 2 days later. And no concept. There's not that pulling the cash out. There's not that waiting in anticipation for it. It is instantaneous to get that and have that joy of spending all that money without that connection. So that's how we get sucked in. And one of the big ways that we just waste money is with car purchases. Buying a new car. Worst decision you can make, because once you drive it off that lot, it goes down 10% in value. By going down 10% in value, you just wasted that money. So if you bought a $25,000 car, once it goes out that driveway, you've lost $2,500. Imagine Imagine if you had $2,500 worth of singles in the back seat and with the windows open, and as you're driving home, all that money's blowing out the window. Would you do that? Or would you just buy a car that's a year older that maybe has 5,000 or 10,000 miles on it, but you're saving that $2,500, and you're really saving more than $2,500, because if you finance that, you're paying that interest on the $2,500 anywhere from 5, 6, even 7 years now. It's not having that concept of money. Our mind doesn't see it, and it's just a signature on the financing statement. So these are 3 reasons that people, as much as they tell me they never want to file bankruptcy again, they fall into this trap. They fall into this vicious cycle. So something to think about. Again, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. You can just post your questions right here, or if you like, you can send me an email to mark@markmartella.com. And I also want to remind you that we have free resources for you. If you go to the Money Matters website, it's just markmartella.com. Go to the free resources page, and you'll find one of my tools is the Ultimate Budgeting Tool. Has everything that you need to create your ultimate budget. And again, the biggest thing with keeping your budget is to track every month. No good creating the budget if you're not going to follow it. And you'll see where you're wasting money and where you have a little bit extra to adjust. So that's a good tool. These shows, my past podcasts, are all on there covering all different topics, from purchasing a vehicle to getting financing for your house. So please use that resource. Again, it's markmartella.com. And again, I'll be here every week to answer your questions. If you have a topic you'd like to hear me talk about, please join me. Please send it to me, and I'll be happy to address it on the show. And in closing, again, remember, you have the power to choose to live a debt-free, stress-free life. Have a great week.